up on Facebook. Come on, Twitch. Oh, just assume it's on Twitch.
Zombie Esther. Back.
Well, you're on Twitch, so I'll take that as my cue. Okay! Welcome back. It's been so long since I've seen you. Why am I looking at my window? There's nobody there. Just as my reflection. High reflection. It's a very sexy reflection. Is that not the most sexy reflection you've ever seen? I'm weird. Alright, so today, excuse me, we're gonna build the Blue Thrower, which might be the biggest of the Zords. I don't know. You know, like of this set, not of the. I know what I mean. So, Blue Thrower.
Sailor Zombie Esther. Sure.
I'll take it. Another candy. Another one for the pile. Ba-da-dum-bum. Another one for the pile. So what do I got here? What does I got here? These and get rid of them. There's no point in holding on to them. They have nothing of value. They're empty plastic sprues. Okay. What do I got on YouTube's? I watched that. That's supposed to be next.
There's so much going on at Disney World every day, it's impossible to see it all. But have you even heard of all of the things on this list? Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. Alright, after hours parades, riding coasters with the lights on, and greeting some ghosts. There are a lot of things going on at Disney World every single day that you're totally unaware of as you stroll down Main Street USA eating your Mickey bar. We're diving into some strange rituals and unannounced magical moments that happen each day in Disney World. Let's get started. First up, did you know that Main Street gets power washed every single day? Yep, the sidewalks and promenades at Disney stay looking fresh and clean because each and every day they get power washed. This is why it always looks like it just poured rain when you first show up at the parks in the morning. Disney World is generally considered to be one of the cleanest theme parks in the world, and a lot of that deep cleaning happens overnight when there are no guests.
Oh god, this thing has 10 wheels.
They're constantly touching up paint and making sure everything is perfect and in great condition each and every day. As soon as the last guests leave the park, the cleaning crew comes out with giant vacuum cleaners to make sure every bit of trash has been picked up. Rides also get cleaned overnight since it's the only time they're not operational, though some, like Haunted Mansion and Tower of Terror, aren't cleaned 100%. Some of those cobwebs and dust are real to keep up the spooky atmosphere. Gas-powered rides like Jungle Cruise or the Tomorrowland Speedway get refueled overnight as well. Basically, anything that wouldn't be super magical for a guest to see is going to happen overnight without anyone around to see it happen. Alright, now did you know that Rock and Roller Coaster gets checked for lost items by riding it every day? Just like the morning safety checks, at the end of the day, cast members need to check rides for any lost items. They're going to do this on every ride, but at Rock and Roller Coaster, they look for lost items by turning the lights on and riding it. Make sure you secure ears, hats, glasses, magic bands, and anything else that could fly off during a ride so they don't have to stop and pick it up in the middle of all that. Cast members will walk through the ride with the lights on as well, but riding lets you see spaces and find things you might not notice just by walking through. Alright, now, did you know that cast members forget their name tags? Yup, every day someone is going to forget a name tag when they come to work, but not to worry, Disney has plenty of extras. Chris or Pat from Orlando are the most common and well-known extra name tags. Chris and Pat are both gender-neutral names, and everyone is living in Orlando currently, so it's an easy go-to name tag if you happen to have left yours at home. There probably is a real Chris from Orlando, so don't assume that everyone wearing that name tag just forgot their real one, but you can always ask him. He'll probably know what you're talking about. And the flag retreat ceremony. This one happens every day, no matter what. It even happened when the parks were closed. Every evening, the American flag at the entrance to Magic Kingdom is lowered with a little ceremony with music from the Main Street Philharmonic. When the parks are open, they typically pick a veteran to honor each day to help with the ceremony. And right now, just the ceremony is taking place, but due to social distancing, they're not honoring individual veterans at the moment. If you want to see the ceremony, check the Times Guide or ask a cast member near the entrance for the specific time, though it usually happens right before sunset. And we talked about checking Rock and Roller Coaster for lost items, but every single ride gets walked through every single day as well. This is part of the regular safety checks that happen on each ride every morning before the park opens. Each day, cast members walk the entire length of a ride track to make sure everything is ready to go and the ride is fully operational. That means walking all the way to the top of Everest and back down each and every day, and Splash Mountain as well. The cast members operating the attraction for the day will walk through the entire thing at the start of the day, looking for lost items, any obviously broken things, or debris.
Sailor
If anything
Zombie
looks off,
Esther.
they'll call in a ride technician.
Where does she get this energy?
Something
Send
else that
help.
happens every day
I
as
honestly have no
well,
idea.
kids
I
get
kind of wonder the
lost.
same thing.
Or, as Disney likes to say, parents get lost. This one unfortunately happens all the time. The parks are crowded and you look away for 1 second and your kiddo is gone. Not to worry, cast members are trained to get kids and their families reunited as quickly as possible. Tell your kids to look for the Disney name tag if they ever get separated, because those cast members can help them find their lost parents. See, if a cast member is helping a kid find their parents, it's the parents who are lost, since the kid is of course right there, they're not lost. Cast members do a great job of helping kids feel safe when they're trying to reunite them with their family. And cast members will first look in the immediate area for those lost parents, but kids will be taken to the baby care center if more than a few minutes have passed. If you have an older $99 like a carriage ride, but custom engagement packages start at $7,500.
Jesus
So
Christ!
that way you can get started on going into debt for your wedding. Something else that happens all the time in Disney World is magical moments. So a lot of people don't realize this. Cast members are assigned several magical moments each day to help create a special experience for guests. They might get an assignment to ask a little girl dressed like a princess to sign their autograph book. They may also be tasked with handing out stickers or buttons or take a guest to the front of the line
Sailor
for a ride
Zombie
if they're
Esther.
celebrating a birthday.
Top camera looks frozen.
Maybe I should just let it go, can't turn it on anymore.
Okay.
I'm gonna get crap for that one. I'm waiting for it. You should see my face right now. I'm so smug. Just keep that in sight.
Some are completely random and spontaneous, but magical moments are happening every day. And it's typically the little things that will help make someone's day just a little bit more special. So if a cast member realizes that you're not having a great day, they might try to make a magical moment for you. Something else people don't realize, especially right now, rides are cleaned every 2 hours. This is a new thing that's happening every day, every 2 hours in fact. As part of Disney's new sanitation procedures, they're sanitizing each ride with disinfectant spray every 2 hours. Wait times have been pretty low across the board, but if you notice a sudden spike in your wait time, it may be because the ride had to stop temporarily to allow the ride vehicles to be cleaned. Even if you hop in line and a cast member tells you that's happening, it typically only takes 10 to 15 minutes, so it shouldn't add too much waiting time to your day. Disney is using a 3-in-1 peroxide-based cleaning spray to do their rides right now. The Eco Lab spray is EPA registered and disinfects within 3 to 5 minutes. It's used on rides and in restaurants to wipe down tables. Basically, on any hard surface that needs to be disinfected, this is what they're using. The product air dries and kills 99.999% of germs. After the vehicles have been sprayed down, cast members will run those ride vehicles through the ride one time to let them dry, or they'll wait 5 minutes to let them dry before they reopen the ride to guests. The next thing that happens every day that you're in the parks, rides in night vision. Just because you're in a dark ride doesn't mean someone isn't watching. Disney uses infrared technology to see in the dark to make sure everyone is staying in their seat on rides like Pirates of the Caribbean or Haunted Mansion, and they even have them on the People Mover. You might notice a few when you're inside Haunted Mansion. There's a little red light on the camera, but most are going to be hidden out of sight. Just because you can't see a camera doesn't mean that there isn't one. I always like to wave at the ones on the ceiling when I'm going through that dark section of the People Mover. Disney takes guest safety very seriously, so even if you don't see a cast member, there's likely one around. There are even plainclothes security guards stationed around the park. So if you're thinking of getting up to any shenanigans when you're on a dark ride, probably not a great idea. Next thing a lot of videos might know about is saying hi to Caesar. Cast members have some rituals that are followed each and every day, and for 2 attractions that means
Masterpiece.
saying good
Deep
morning
one.
to some spooky residents. At Tower of Terror, there's a scary ventriloquist dummy just at the exit of the ride, and at Pirates of the Caribbean, there's a rumored ghost named George, who is supposedly a construction worker who was killed on the job. There's no real record of George existing, but that doesn't stop this Disney urban legend from continuing. If you don't say good morning to Caesar the dummy and George, the rides might malfunction, so it's become a part of the morning safety checks. We have another video all about cast member rituals that you should definitely watch.
I might just
There
do
you have
that.
it, some weird, some sweet, and some totally practical things that happen every day in Disney World. How many did you know about? Have you seen a proposal at Disney World, or did your proposal happen there? We love hearing those stories, so leave them in the comments. Thanks for listening, you guys. Thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon. With secret scavenger hunts, ghosts, and demonic ventriloquist dummies, we've got a whole bunch of weird rituals from cast members in Walt Disney World that we're going to tell you about today. Let's get started. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog, and today we are going to talk about some weird rituals at Walt Disney World that cast members have told us about. Now, you guys know that Disney employees are all called cast members because Walt, when he started Disneyland, wanted it to be a giant show. And right now, there's over 70,000 cast members doing everything from ride operations, picking up trash, developing the next innovative ride system, and more. Disney World is a stage, and the cast members are all part of the show. Everyone's in character, and that isn't just for the performers. It goes for ride attendants and gift shop clerks too. Just like how you can't say Macbeth inside a theater, there's plenty of bizarre cast member rituals and superstitions or otherwise hidden behind the scenes facts that most Disney guests don't know about. The first one we're going to talk about is called Good Morning, George. Disney World isn't without its mishaps and unfortunate incidents, but some things end up in the rumor mill that just aren't true. But that doesn't mean they can't lead to some cast member urban legends. Pirates of the Caribbean, one of the most iconic attractions, actually didn't open with Magic Kingdom in 1971. It was thought that since Florida was so close to the Caribbean already, guests wouldn't care about a ride with that theme. Boy, were they wrong. Guests voiced their complaints,
never actually
and
written
Disney
that.
got to building the Magic Kingdom version of the ride right away and had it open in December of 1973. Now, rumor has it that a welder named George died while working on the Pirates of the Caribbean attraction. As far as we know, this one is just a rumor, but cast members say that his
ghost haunts the attraction and can wreak havoc if you don't greet him. And who are we to argue with potential ghosts? Cast members who work on the ride have to say good morning and good night to the ghost George. If they don't, the attraction will go 101, which means close temporarily for mysterious reasons. Next weird ritual from cast members, you better be nice to Caesar. Now this one is over in Tower of Terror in Disney's Hollywood Studios. Tower of Terror is filled with lots of Easter eggs from the series itself. Like you'll spot little nods like the elevator inspection certificate dated October 31st, 1939, which is the night of the incident. You'll also see that same certificate is numbered 10-59, which stands for October 2nd, 1959, the day the first Twilight Zone episode aired. You'll also see lots of props from the show, including the ventriloquist dummy Caesar from the episode Caesar and Me. Just like in the episode, it seems that Caesar may be possessed by an evil spirit here at Tower of Terror, so cast members make sure they say hello to him or he might just cause the ride to break down. You can spot him in the room where you exit the elevators, and if a demonic ventriloquist dummy and the 39-mile-per-hour drop isn't enough to scare you, there's also a rumor that Tower of Terror is actually haunted by a ghost, so watch out for real ghosts on the ride. Another fun ritual over in Tower of Terror are the bellhop letters. So Tower of Terror seems to be a hotspot for weird cast member rituals, although this one is kind of sweet. As you're walking through the queue, you'll pass the bellhop stand and you might notice the letters in the mailboxes. These are actually all real letters. They are either guest letters acknowledging an awesome bellhop or from retired bellhops. Cast members don't just plan welcome events, they also have traditions for those moving on to new or different things. And at Tower of Terror, it's tradition for the trainers to show the new kids the letters from the original bellhops during their training, and then on their last day of work at the attraction, that group of cast members writes a note to the next group. Tower of Terror
sweet.
Isn't the only attraction that cast members leave their mark on. When Rock and Roller Coaster cast members move locations or leave Disney, they sign their names in one of the garages inside the attraction. Now we've got to tell you about some baddie pets over at Haunted Mansion in the Magic Kingdom. Ironically, our Haunted Mansion addition to this list isn't about a ride being actually haunted. We busted that myth and some other bizarre ones in a previous video. But cast members at Haunted Mansion take getting into character up a notch, and their costume accessories go way beyond a clever hometown on their name tag. The female cast members wear headbands with bats on them, and they all have to name their bat, kind of like it's a pet. Some of the cast members have really elaborate stories about their pet bats and create personalities for them as well. Ask about them next time you're waiting to enter the mansion. The next bizarre cast member ritual is kind of born of necessity. So name tags are a must-have if you're a cast member. And this goes back to Walt wanting everyone employed by Disney to go by their first
Sailor
names.
Zombie
He didn't go by
Esther.
Mr. Disney. And
Having
to
a
have their
campfire.
names displayed to guests. Typically, the cast
That
members'
sounds
name
fun.
will be printed in bold caps, making it easy to read, and they'll have their hometown written underneath. Now, occasionally, cast members will have something else besides their hometown. For example, cast members working at Star Tours, and we assume Galaxy's Edge, will have Tatooine or Naboo instead of their real home planet. But cast members are just like the rest of us and have days when they forget things, so occasionally they may forget their name tag and need to go by an alias. Costuming always has extra name tags on hand if cast members ever forget theirs, so you pretty much have the pick of whomever you want to be that day if you forget your name tag. Cast members who forget those name tags will often end up as Chris from Orlando or Pat from Orlando for the day. So that's why most cast members will know what you're talking about when you say Chris from Orlando. The next fun ritual is welcoming the new class. In addition to the Disney College program, which takes on several thousand participants each year, and the International program, which lets international employees work at Disney, usually in their countries at Epcot Pavilion or in Animal Kingdom. There's also the Professional Internship Program. Now, each professional internship period is usually around 6 months in length, and roles can include things like guest relations, communications, accounting and finance, biology, animal sciences, and others. All of these programs have events to welcome their new class of the year. In Magic Kingdom Guest Relations, there's an event planned by the professional interns who were asked to stay on full-time from the previous class in order to welcome the new incoming class. In prior years, the event has been a full-day scavenger hunt all over the Magic Kingdom, which ended with fireworks viewing and then an invite to a local tavern where the rest of the department would be waiting decorating for a surprise party. It's a great bonding event for professional interns who aren't living 24/7 with their fellow program participants, like you do if you're in the college program. The next thing we've got to discuss when it comes to cast member rituals is that, quote, have a magical day, unquote. If a cast member tells you to have a magical day, you might want to check your attitude. Now, most of the time, a cast member really does hope you have a magical day, but this phrase can also be used as a code to cover up something a little less park-friendly that cast members might want to say to a very rude guest. It's a simple tactic to politely end a conversation whether a guest has been sweet or a total nightmare. And at the end of the day, cast members do want every single visitor to Disney World to have a perfect day. We've said it before and we'll say it again. Be nice to cast members. They're working hard to make your trip as flawless as possible, but they're not miracle workers, although they can create some pretty magical moments.
I say have a magical day because I can't say fuck you.
Our next ritual we want to tell you about, and that's creating some extra pixie dust. Now, this isn't necessarily a weird ritual. It's a really fun one. Cast members occasionally have the ability to create a little magic or give guests some extra pixie dust. And they do this when maybe a guest is having a bad day or a bad experience. Cast members go out of their way to make sure things get a little bit better. We've heard about guests getting everything from free dessert to room upgrades and even a golden ticket for a fast pass for any attraction. Now, we can't guarantee you'll be treated to something special on your birthday or anniversary or that some extra magic will come your way, but if you're celebrating something special or something has gone wrong, let a cast member know. They might be able to help your day become just a little bit better, especially if you're nice about it. A few examples we've had from our team include getting bumped up to theme park view at the Polynesian and being given late checkout when they mentioned their flight wasn't until 9 p.m. Also, one team member was given a voucher to buy shoes at a merchandise shop because her sandal broke when she was in the park. And also being given a height certificate for a child that was too short to ride a ride. If the child brings back the height certificate later in life when they're tall enough, they get to ride that attraction with a fast pass.
Oh, that's
now,
neat.
Our last one that we want to talk about today is going to give a little bit of the magic away, and we're going to go a little bit behind that curtain. So if you have little kids who are watching or you don't want to see behind the Disney magic curtain, then you can just skip this section. We're going to talk about secret identities, and that has to do with characters, Disney characters. So this is a fun ritual that everyone in Disney World who works as a character performer knows is critically important. It's a long, hard road to become a Disney character, and there's rounds of auditions, and only a few people get the spot. You have
Sailor
to be the
Zombie
right height,
Esther.
you have to know a dance routine.
Counterfeit high
Face
ticket.
characters are usually put in costume and audition with the character.
Good lord, that
voice.
I didn't know they
And
had a
these roles
thing for
are
Mike
critical
Wazowski. That's gonna be a real short person. And their head is inside the hat, and the arms have to be moved on sticks. So that's gonna be like a 5-foot person, maybe 4.5. Or Sully's like 7 feet tall. The logistics of costume characters.
Important. It's a long, hard road to become a Disney character, and there's rounds of auditions, and only a few people get the spot. You have to be the right height, you have to know a dance routine. Face characters are usually put in costume and audition with the character's voice, and these roles are critical because it's always important to stay in character. Even if you make it through and you get to play your favorite Disney character, you're definitely not supposed to talk about it. It's critical to maintain the illusion that there is only one character, and everyone who's meeting that character in the parks is meeting the real character. So there's only one Mickey, but Mickey does have lots of friends. And cast members who play a certain character are discouraged from sharing who they play. Instead, you might hear someone say, "I'm friends with Mickey," which is code for "I wear the Mickey costume." It's also part of the magic to keep your identity secret. After all, kiddos come in umbrella or the real Mickey. So if you do hear a cast member say that they're friends with Moana or they're friends with Goofy, then they probably play that character. So there are a few fun
Seems like something that wouldn't actually come up very often, like
secrets that our cast member friends have shared with
idle
us.
conversation.
And we can't wait to hear from you. Are you guys cast members? Have you been cast members? Do you know cast members? Let us know your secret rituals and your fun memories and experiences from your time being a cast member. We'd love to hear from you guys. It really, really helps the rest of our viewers to have a better trip when they learn from you, because you guys are the experts. As always, thanks for listening, thanks for watching. Please support our channel by subscribing, clicking that like button, giving us a thumbs up, and also clicking that notification bell so that you can see when we put up new videos. This is AJ for Disney Food Vlog, and we'll see you real soon.
Probably didn't see what happened, but I kind of cut a gash into the very smooth piece of plastic. I believe it's going to be covered with a sticker, so it's not that big of a deal, but still. Yeah, that gets stickers 13 and 16. I think I'll apply those later. Oh, here's a little fun bit of trivia. The guy that played the Blue Ranger in this series in America was mildly famous martial artist Mike Chatteratibat. I'm saying that wrong. Let's pull it up. With Jetix experience. What? Let's test you back. This is a good show. Excuse me. Random tidbit, I think that's the only season where the characters are given first and last names in the credits. I mean, they usually have them canonically, but kind of...
Sailor Zombie Esther. You don't get to work at SeaWorld and then claim you love the ocean.
This was before all that Blackfish shit. This is the 2000. Attitudes were different then. I'm not saying they was justified, but, you know, that was the era. Here's one that for everybody.
Shrek is a masterpiece of musical storytelling. There, I said it. This film, and really by extension the rest of the film series, not you, but the rest of the Shrek film series is a fantastic case study for what film music can do. This is not a joke, this is not a meme. I get it, you see a video about Shrek and you're like, oh god, the classic music snob is gonna try and be funny and make memey, outdated Shrek jokes and just come off as a cringy version of Squidward having an existential crisis. But I'm serious, the music in Shrek is an absolute fantastic expression of what film scoring can accomplish. I can't emphasize this enough, I'm not kidding. Shrek is one of the most amazing film scores I've ever come across. But in order to explain it, I kinda gotta go over how I got here. So since starting this whole YouTube thing and spending literally all my time either looking up, thinking about, or talking about film scores, or at the very least something related to film scoring, I've just been swarmed by people asking me what my opinions are about pop music. And not like oh, could you do a pop music review of my favorite tune, but more specifically like, what are my thoughts on when a film uses pop music either as an addition to or as an outright replacement for a film's original score. And the truth is, I've made multiple videos on it, and I haven't been particularly kind to pop music in general. It's honestly been really difficult for me to just talk about pop music in general, let alone in a narrative sense without coming off as a neckbeard, especially when it comes to discussing the more subtle nuances of how I feel about inserting pop music as a film scoring technique. But then a film came out, a film so remarkable that it brought everyone together. It sparked a rare discussion where everyone, big and small, young and old, all agreed about how that film had impacted our short time on this little blue marble. And that film was Suicide Squad. To be clear, because we live in dark times, this film sucks. But don't take my word for it. Take it from this guy who has oh so very clearly gone to grad school. I mean, just look at him. I think the chugging cough syrup gives it away. This is Dan Olson, who operates, owns, and is free to command his will over the YouTube channel Folding Ideas. And one of his pioneering videos is a 35-ish minute extravaganza on how exactly Suicide Squad sucks so much. Now, I've used this clip from this video before because it's one of my favorite little clips on the entirety of YouTube. And it's when he talks about the musical choices in Suicide Squad.
And I haven't even addressed
I actually
the soundtrack
really like
yet.
Shrek 1 to 2.
Yeah, Shrek 1 and 2 were good. 2's a little, we don't really know where we're going to go with this. Throw jokes at the wall, like reference everything under the sun, but it was still a good movie. Shrek 3, I hated, and Shrek the final chapter I have never seen. Puss in Boots was good, though. Not particularly memorable.
Trailer-style peppy montage relies heavily on pop music in the bluntest way possible. It's a prison in Louisiana, House of the Rising Sun by the Animals. Harley Isn't Your Plaything, You Don't Own Me by Leslie Gore. Amanda Waller is bad and she's going to introduce a bunch of devils. Sympathy for the devil. Harley's a super freak, so let's just play super freak. An Aussie who does dirty deeds done dirt cheap.
Now, just to be clear, what he's saying is that the usage of pop music in this film is incredibly superficial, so much so that you could reduce the usage of said pop music to merely just the title and understand completely exactly how and why the producers used that specific piece of music in that specific scene. But hold on a minute, how is that any different from Shrek?
4 is
when he's in his
actually
swamp and
okay,
he's treating himself to
somehow. Beth made me watch it.
I do need to see it. It's not exactly high on my priority list, though.
But hold on a minute. How is that any different from Shrek? When he's in his swamp and he's treating himself to a hashtag self-care day, we hear All-Star by Smash Mouth. He's treating himself, he's an all-star. We get Bad Reputation by Joan Jett when Shrek's wrestling with the Knights. He literally doesn't care what anyone thinks about him. We get I'm on My Way by the Proclaimers when Shrek and Donkey go off on their journey. Right here, we get a song called My Beloved Monster. That's a little on the nose, don't you think? We get Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah when everyone's sad. It even ends with Donkey singing Neil Diamond's I'm a He Believes in Love, or something. And it doesn't end there. This whole pattern continues on to the second film. It opens with Accidentally in Love by Counting Crows, which I think is the best summary of the first film. We get Funky Town when the group arrives at Far, Far Away, probably because this place is so different to what Shrek is familiar with. A song literally titled I Need Some Sleep plays when Shrek is lying awake and can't sleep. Ever Fallen in Love plays when Shrek is stealing a potion from the factory. He's doing something crazy because, well, have you ever fallen in love? Changes plays after Shrek and Donkey. You guessed it. Change. Then the fairy godmother literally screams, holding out for a hero into a microphone as Shrek is storming the castle, which is a moment I've heard a lot of fans talk about being the most epic moment in the whole trilogy. That's right. trilogy. We'll put it in this one, we'll come back to it. But this film ends with Puss in Boots and Donkey singing Livin' La Vida Loca, which means living a crazy life, which if that isn't a great summary of Shrek, then I don't know what is. So I think you get the point. This perfectly valid and poignant criticism against Suicide Squad and its obnoxious inclusion of pop music can also be said for what happened to Shrek. But before we go there, let's hit the brakes and back up for a minute. Why does Shrek have all this pop music in it in the first place? Now, plenty of films have included pop music in their score, so hearing pop tunes in this movie wasn't exactly revolutionary. You can look at a film like The Graduate, which included a lot of works from Simon and Garfunkel, or you can go back further and talk about how Casablanca used As Time Goes By. If you want to get technical about it, you could say the same thing for the Beatles' Yellow Submarine or The Wall by Pink Floyd. If you want to get really philosophical about it,
that
you
feels
can
a
talk
little,
about how the jazz singer,
on the
the
nose.
first ever film with synchronized sound, basically just used popular music of the day. I think anyone can think of a film that heavily relies on the use of pop music, and the silver screen isn't really the only place you're going to find this kind of stuff. A jukebox musical is a musical that, instead of using original music, uses pop music instead. So you can look at something like Mamma Mia, which used songs from ABBA. So this whole idea of relying on pop music isn't anything new, but why does Shrek rely so heavily on those pieces of pop music? Well, I think it comes down to the anti-Disney message contained within Shrek. So in case you're unaware, there was some drama in the Disney executive world. If you want more detail on this, you can look up one of the dozens of other video essays on Shrek out there. No, seriously, there are a lot of people talking about these films, from the fan remakes to even a Marxist reading on the first film. Shrek really impacted people.
There are two different kinds of wheel spokes here. I didn't even realize. I got the wrong ones. Put that to the side, I guess.
Anyway, so the way the story goes is that Jeffrey Katzenberg and Mike Eisner were at Disney. They didn't like each other. Something happens. I don't know. I don't care. Then Katzenberg leaves Disney to go start DreamWorks. Something, Shrek. And when you look at Shrek through an analytical lens, it's basically one massive, multi-layered criticism of the Disney Renaissance in the 1990s, which again, everyone has pointed out. So there are 12.5 ways to read this. Maybe it's about Disney copywriting public domain stories and characters. Maybe Farquaad is an Eisner stand-in. Maybe it's a critique on the hyper-commercialization of the Disney brand, which is why even though everything about Duloc is coded to be a mock Disneyland, when the town is empty, it sounds like a department store.
Too quiet.
No matter how you read it, Shrek is very anti-Disney, and it appears that the narrative itself is meant to be a nuanced criticism of the validity and pertinence of the quote-unquote traditional fairy tale and how it pertains to happiness. To be clear, I think Shrek, as a narrative, is stronger than all the Disney Renaissance films combined. Like, it's almost been 2 decades and Disney still can't figure out how to make a self-rescuing princess to the caliber of Fiona. There! I said it! Let the comments rain on me like snow on a hot desert. But to that end, seeing that this is the anti-Disney film, it stands to reason that the inclusion of these pieces of pop music serve to criticize and undermine the more theatrical or even stage musical nature of the Disney Renaissance films. If you want more info on that, I actually have a video that you can check out that talks just about that. So instead of having the character sing an I Want song or a villain song or whatever the hell this thing is that Iago sings, they just have
Iago
pop
sings?
music. Shrek has no I Want song. In the opening of the film, he wants for nothing. He's perfectly content. He's an all-star. And to that end, the pop music serves as a subversive commentary on the necessity of musical theater numbers that question the diegesis of the film. Unlike Pixar, that also did not have musical numbers, Shrek draws attention to it with similarly vocal music that does not exist in the universe of the film. But here's the thing. If we just stop here and just sit at this level, then there's really not that much of a difference in how both Suicide Squad and Shrek use pop music. We can identify how and why what pieces of music were chosen to fit within a specific scene based almost explicitly on the context of the scene and the title of the piece of music. And if you've seen a lot of my content, then you'll know that I'm not super jazzed about just plugging in something from the producer's Spotify playlist because they think that's what sounds good or because they think it fits. So at the moment, it almost looks like the inclusion of pop music strips Shrek of the emotional impact that the music can have, except that isn't the case. Like, hang on, this scene makes me feel things. It's good, not bad, but why is it not bad? Well, let's compare these two scenes. Pay attention to this scene where Shrek drop kicks this knight. We're listening to Joan Jett's Bad Reputation. Now compare that to the scene where Shrek and Donkey are running away from the dragon after Shrek frees Fiona. Now, aside from having a wonderful reference to the Dies Irae right here,
I'll take care of the dragon.
this is original score by Harry Gregson Williams and John Powell, who up to this point had already worked together on films like Ants and Chicken Run. And like what I said with Guardians of the Galaxy 7.5 centuries ago, this film is not explicitly pop music, it has original score as well. As even the most casual Shrek fan will tell you, this film has a hypnotically mesmerizing main theme. It reappears constantly, referencing the love between Shrek and Fiona, the main story,
A princess locked in a tower and beset by a dragon is rescued by a brave knight, and then they share.
the narrative sense of what makes up Shrek. And so naturally, it comes back in the second film as well.
Best for you. Maybe you should do the same.
She's finally found the prince of her dreams.
But look at me.
Thanks. Now, where were we?
Oh, I remember.
So taking another step back, what's the difference between this scene and this scene? Well, the cage match between Shrek and the guards, that's mostly played for a joke, right? It really isn't that significant in the story moving forward beyond demonstrating to Farquaad that Shrek might be the best chance he has at getting his hands on Fiona in the most literal sense. But this scene, where Shrek rescues Fiona, is where these two meet. It's essential in establishing the foundation for their relationship.
You didn't slay the dragon?
It's on my to-do list. Now come on.
It's a significant moment in the film. It isn't Shrek farting in a swamp. It isn't Donkey peeing out a fire pit. It isn't some other montage moment. This scene really matters. And the film does not trust pop music to be able to carry the most emotional moments of the story. We get the main theme as Shrek approaches Fiona, the genesis of their relationship. We get it diegetically when Fiona's trying to be a princess and ends up killing a bird. She's singing our main theme, in essence revealing her true nature in more ways than one. And we get it when she's transforming, admitting to herself what she really is. It's the leitmotif that carries the significance of this story's moral. And that is, in essence, why everyone says that the ending to Shrek 2 sounds so amazing. Everyone just thinks that this song sounds amazing, but it isn't just this song. Listen. Let me see if I can refresh your memory on where that melody comes from. What we're actually getting here is exactly what we got during this scene in Spider-Verse. If you want to know more about the Spider-Verse, feel free to check out my other video below. What? I have a lot of videos, sue me. But we're getting a mixture of holding out for a hero and some of the original hero theme that we heard from the first film, because again, Shrek is coming to rescue Fiona. That's what makes this moment so intense. That's what makes it feel so epic. But what, does that just mean that all the pop music isn't as good as the original score? Is this the part where I get to be all condescending and pretentious and tell you that I told you so and that pop music just sucks and will never be useful in the film? Well, no. None of this would work if it wasn't for the inclusion of the pop music, and we know that because of Donkey. There's something about Donkey that's very special. Throughout the entire story, Donkey is always incredibly sincere. He doesn't care about the external pressures on him. He doesn't need that outside influence. He's totally comfortable being exactly who he is. Compare that to someone like Fiona or the King, who have to literally hide who they are from the public and keep their true identities a secret. Or even look at someone like Shrek, who, even though he seems content in the opening of the first film, really just wants people to understand that he isn't what people immediately think of him.
People take one look at me and go, "Ah, help, run! A big, stupid, ugly ogre." They judge me before they even know me.
But there's something else important about Donkey. He's an exceptionally musical character.
'Cause I'm all alone. There's no one here beside me.
He'd like a friend, all while we hear All-Star. We know that in part he's playing along with society's expectations of what an ogre is. We hear bad reputation when Shrek's fighting the knights, but that's not who he is. He likes chilling in his swamp. He doesn't want the glory of the center stage. It's a facade. Neither of these characters intrinsically want to be going on a journey to get a princess from a castle. They have to via external pressures. Even this love montage where we hear My Beloved Monster, as much as these two characters are coming together, there's a falsity to it. The Fiona that Shrek is falling in love with has a performative element to it that emulates a false persona. In part, this development is fueled by Fiona's internalization of society telling her that she can't be an ogre. You can actually see this pattern reach its conclusion at the end of the first film when we hear I'm a Believer. It begins with the original recording, but then gets picked up by Donkey. This transition from non-diegetic original recording to a diegetic performance by Donkey musically emulates the conclusion of the story. The main characters are now accepted by society as they are, not as they have to be through societal pressures. We transition from a montage-y style pop tune insert to the most sincere musical expression by Donkey, all while finally having musical support by the other characters, mirroring how the outcasts have finally found their place. Which all compounds the main theme of the film. It's that the path to true happiness is one of self-actualization that will most likely defy societal norms in one way or another. Who cares if you aren't doing it the way people want you to? If it makes you happy, then that's what's important. And when we see those genuine moments of confidence and sincerity in these characters' identities, that's when we hear the main theme. As great as it is to like these pieces of pop music, they're constructed to be the most popular, not necessarily the most specific. As much as these pieces might sound fantastic, the necessity to appeal to such a massive audience mirrors the needs for the characters in Shrek to navigate the external pressures and conform to societal expectations. But if the moral of the story is that you have to be yourself in order to be happy, no matter what anyone else says, then really that means that Shrek would need something more personal and sincere to represent his story, like his own unique theme. That's what makes the final conflict with the fairy godmother so musically and thematically intense. The external societal pressures of what Shrek and Fiona should do are represented in the pop tune that the fairy godmother, the villain, is diegetically singing, in direct conflict with the originally scored hero's theme that represents Shrek's desire to not abandon Fiona for a life of conformity. And this musical representation of the triumph of self-expression over people so well that in an ironic twist, the music that DreamWorks used to represent a film that would mock Disney inadvertently became their version of Jiminy Cricket singing When You Wish Upon a Star. But that's what makes this moment so epic. That's why the usage of pop music doesn't
I think DreamWorks has more duds.
And it does in Suicide Squad. It's because here it served a purpose, here it was just awful. And that's why we remember the main theme to Shrek, regardless of how many times we hear Smash Mouth.
A lot of Disney's best movies are Pixar movies.
Is so groundbreaking. And that's why the soundtrack to Shrek is genius. Thanks for watching. I'd like to thank my patrons for making these videos possible. The very special thank you to Adam Jensen, Alec Kulkowski, Clara Tan, DJ Nawananda, Emmett Husband, Hayden Elza, Jordan Adams, Karen Rosanow, Kate J, Myron John Tatarin, Praylock, Rafael Martinez Salas, and Who Am I? I'd also like to thank everybody who's ever requested that I talk about pop music in a movie, especially for requesting Shrek 2. If you like what you saw here, be sure to check out my other videos, like, comment, subscribe if you really want to. Follow me on Twitter and Twitch so you can have your musical questions answered live, or you can just come hang out while we play video games. And if you really like what I'm doing, then consider supporting the channel on Patreon. But that's all I got for now. Thanks for watching.
Sailor Zombie Esther. Yep, but DreamWorks takes a lot more chances too.
That's true.
Sailor Zombie Esther. Disney has always plenty of duds. I've seen The Black Cauldron.
Nothing wrong with The Black Cauldron. Hashtag best movie ever made. The Black Cauldron feels like it should be a DreamWorks movie, or actually, I guess, one of those, is it Warner Brothers, or whoever was like Disney's big competitor in the 80s and 90s before DreamWorks showed up. Maybe it was Universal. I don't know, like, you know, the people that made like Titan AE. I don't think that was DreamWorks. But like what am I thinking of? Like a Troll in Central Park. Swan Princess, Fern Gully, all of them. Land Before Time, I think.
Sailor Zombie Esther. Literally anyone who's read the book disagrees with you so.
Look, I saw Black Cauldron when I was like 13. That's the first and last time. Don't take my opinion as gospel. I'm being sarcastic here.
Sailor Zombie Esther. It lost to Care Bears.
Gosh, a recognizable brand versus a dark movie? Gosh. Look, I'm not going to bat for Black Cauldron here. I think it has redeeming qualities from what very little I remember of it.
Sailor Zombie Esther. Those were Bluth / early DreamWorks.
Yeah, Don Bluth had a studio though, didn't he? Anastasia too. Ever seen Anastasia? I might not have seen Anastasia. What's that one? Quest for Camelot. Who made Quest for Camelot? That wasn't. I'm not saying that was a good movie, but it's one I remember. Warner Brothers feature animation.
Sailor Zombie Esther. Redeeming qualities such as it ended.
Why are you trying to fight me on this? Jesus Christ! I already said I don't actually remember it that well.
Sailor Zombie Esther. Anastasia was owned by Fox.
Fox, yes, that's
Sailor
yes.
Zombie Esther. Fox, I think. Sailor Zombie Esther. God, that movie sucks, but young Meredith thirsted for the blind man.
I saw this literally once in theaters, and I have never seen it again. I thought it was okay at the time. Time has not been kind to it. Featuring the voices of
Sailor
Jessalyn.
Zombie Esther. I'm just snarking for the fun of it.
Why my camera froze? Oh no, I think my phone is dead. That's why. Funny thing about phones, they need battery. Oh no, it's still on. Getting close though. It was at 16%. Quest for Camelot's cast, featuring the voices of Jessalyn Gilsig, Carrie Elwes, Gary Oldman, Eric Idle, and Don Rickles. That's not a bad cast. I don't know who Jessalyn Gilsig is, but Carrie Elwes, Gary Oldman, Eric Idle, Don Rickles, those are name value actors.
Sailor Zombie Esther. Quest for Camelot aged like expired milk.
Who is Jessalyn Gilsig? Actress known for her Canadian actress known for roles in Boston Public, Nip Tuck, Glee, and Vikings. It was an expensive flop. Yeah. Yeah. With a song by with Celine Dion too. Jesus. Andrea Corr, Brian White, and Celine Dion do the singing voices of the main characters. I need to revisit this at some point. Pierce Brosnan as King Arthur? Jaleel White, they got Urkel? Is that a different actor? Frank Welker? Well, yeah, that makes sense. Frank Welker's in everything.
Sailor Zombie Esther. Oh, they put a lot of money into it.
Yeah, I said 40 million.
Sailor Zombie Esther. See if you can stream it. It's god awful.
Not right now.
Sailor Zombie Esther. The griffin is the only cool part.
You know, as a kid, I kind of thought I'd like the two-headed dragon, but yeah, you're right, the griffin is definitely better. What do I got next? The DeLorean story.
Oh, smash that dislike button. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Business Blaze. It is your boy with the Blaze, Simon. As always on this channel, Danny has put us together a script. This one is a heavily requested one, DeLorean motor vehicles. I've vaguely been familiar with this. I mean, obviously everyone's familiar with the car because of Back to the Future and the doors go like this. I really would like one of these cars. But also, apparently there's this whole super interesting story. I believe there's something to do with cocaine at some point, which is always fun on the Blaze.
God, I love cocaine.
So let's just jump in. And of course, credit to Sam as well, resident memologist who adds all of the memes. Let's do it. For some reason, this light feels a lot brighter today. I don't know why. Like, maybe I've got these studio lights here. This one feels really bright. Like, my eyes hurt. I don't like it. I have to admit, if it wasn't for the Back to the Future films, I probably wouldn't know what a DeLorean even looked like. Neither would anyone else, Danny. Because it's not like, oh yeah, DeLorean. You know? Of course. Ford, Mercedes, DeLorean. But I always kind of assumed that this was just because I've never known anything remotely useful about cars, and that most normal viewers of the films, the kind of people that take some sort of interest in things going on around them, would already have been very familiar with the distinctive sight of a DMC DeLorean sports car when the films first hit the cinema screens.
Well, it's a DeLorean, right?
Bear with me, Marty. All your questions will be answered. Roll tape. Okay, I will proceed.
I recently rewatched these movies, by the way. I've seen all of them, 2, 1, 3. It's the correct order, which everyone disagrees with, but you're wrong. And all I remember is like, wow, you know, the car's got to get to 88 miles an hour to go back in time. And it's like, it's a really long sequence getting up to 88, and I'm like, wow, it's slow, right? It's like, 20! 75 years later. 30! It turns out that this is not entirely true. I had no idea that outside of the United States, at least, the DeLorean was a relatively obscure, damp squib of a vehicle which had already been largely forgotten before the Back to the Future films came along and turned it into an iconic symbol of cinematic time travel. However, the real story behind the disastrous production of the DMC DeLorean car could easily have made a film in itself. In fact, it eventually did, kind of, as two separate films popped up in 2019, although one of them was a weird hybrid of a documentary and drama, while the other was criticized for being wildly inaccurate. Neither of them performed very well at the box office. I do find those, you know, documentary dramas where it's like, yeah, it's a documentary, but then they have actors playing out some of the scenes. I'm like, and it's never particularly well acted. I'm always like, it's a bit shit, isn't it? This format is not working. Which is what, you know, people say about business plays. They're like, Simon, what the is this? You don't have a teleprompter? It's like, I'm actually looking at the camera through a teleprompter right now. It's off. This is a choice, boys. B-O-I.
Yeah, boy.
But while the true story of American engineer and inventor John DeLorean may not feature quite as many hoverboards or slightly disturbing incestuous plot twists as the Back to the Future trilogy, it does feature a bold and ambitious dream which was trampled over to some degree by Margaret Thatcher. A massive suitcase of cocaine. I knew there was cocaine. Always exciting.
Wish I could jump in there and roll around and all that cascading white powder.
And about $17 million, which got carelessly mislaid somewhere along the line. Metaphorically speaking, it's the story of a talented engineer and businessman who drove his own dream vehicle at breakneck speeds straight into a brick wall that was plastered with sticks of dynamite. Oh, shit.
Jesus.
Yet somehow scrambled out of the fancy gull-wing doors with nothing more than a few cuts and scratches and maybe a slightly lighter wallet. Spoiler alert, normally these end with someone going to prison. I guess not today. I guess we might be using the Business Blaze favorite, allegedly, which everyone is requesting gets made into a t-shirt, which is currently a work in progress. Merch has been a little bit slow because of the whole coronavirus thing.
Coronavirus! Coronavirus!
and I'm still waiting on a shipment of merch. It's actually available to buy right now, but I didn't really want to plug it until I tried it myself. So it's on its way, allegedly. John Zachary DeLorean was born in 1925 in Detroit and raised by immigrant parents in a pretty tough neighborhood on the east side. His dad was probably part of the reason that the neighborhood was a bit rough, as he had a bit of a reputation for drunken brawling in the streets. Oh shit, Dad. John's father had a job at the Ford Motor Company, so of course he lived in Detroit. Where else would he work? So the automobile industry clearly ran through the family blood, but the father's poor English skills and alcohol problems meant that he never progressed further than the factory floor. John's parents would later divorce, and he would have very little future contact with his dad, who ended up living the life of a solitary drug addict. Danny somehow makes that sound romantic, like he ended up living the life of a solitary drug addict. John DeLorean's own education was interrupted by the Second World War. Oh, he's really old. I didn't realize. I guess that would make sense. And he served 3 years in the US Army before receiving an honorable discharge and resuming his studies at the Lawrence Institute of Technology in Detroit. He later picked up a master's degree in mechanical engineering and business administration before entering the automotive industry in 1925 with a job at Packard Motor Company. Never heard of it. Maybe it became something else, got bought by someone, or maybe it just made cars. Maybe it was John's fault. John moved over to General Motors in 1956 and quickly made a name for himself, working as the lead engineer on such iconic cars as the Pontiac GTO and the Pontiac Firebird. I have no idea what any of these cars are because they're American. He rose through the ranks to eventually become GM's youngest ever head of division by the age of 40. Credited with the invention of overhead cam engines, concealed windshield wipers, the lane change turn signal, vertically stacked headlights, and approximately 2 other patented inventions that mean absolutely f*** to me. Well, Danny, I mean, think about it. Concealed windshield wipers, so windshield wipers that are not obvious on the windscreen. No idea what an overhead cam engine. You and I together on that one, Danny, if anyone wants to enlighten us in the comments. The lane change turn signal, isn't that just a... Oh, so the one that goes off automatically? No. Vertically stacked headlights, so, you know, one on top of each other rather than just in a line. That's pretty incredible, I gotta say. John DeLorean was developing into something of a business executive version of a rock star. He was, so it's like, successful and boring. He was considered to have dashing good looks. He was down with the kids. He was uber confident.
Boo!
And he was generating acclaim for introducing sports car sexiness to the previously stiff and stuffy automotive industry, except for all of the sports cars. In his own words, he often saw the older executives around him as just sitting behind a desk wearing a pair of those old high-top leather shoes and packing a big wad of cigars into their shirt pockets. It's very 1950s, isn't it? John DeLorean saw his role as shaking up an industry with rock and roll. Weirdly, he claims that his strategic formula to gauge the developing trends of younger consumers was to listen to rock and roll music on the stereo. Oh my lord, what a cutting-edge mofo. It's difficult to see exactly how John could have drawn up comprehensive business proposals based on the lyrics of Bill Haley and his Comets, but something was clearly working for him. Never heard of Bill Haley and his Comets, probably because this is set in the 1950s and I've not heard of anything before 1996. As he was becoming a minor, except for Back to the Future, and he was becoming a minor celebrity in his own right. He dated film stars and showgirls and regularly popped up on the social pages of the press. It also appeared as if he may have been just a little bit in love with himself. Well, he does sound pretty f***ing awesome. One of his many glamorous girlfriends revealed that she was disappointed with her Christmas gift from John. It was a lavish, leather-bound portfolio heaving with lots of lovely photographs of himself. No. Really?
Wow.
No photographs of them together as a couple, just him. So he got a book made with photographs of himself in it. That is, like, narcissism to the max. It reminds me of the special birthday gift that Simon sent me this last year. It was the Simon Whistler shrugging sticker for me to slap on the radiator. Currently available for just $4.99. The sticker, not the radiator. I do know we sell some stickers. Is there really a sticker of me shrugging? I think there might be one like this. You're welcome, Danny, by the way. $4.99 is quite expensive for a sticker. I don't set the prices on these things. I feel like the t-shirt's pretty good at like 20-something bucks. Like, get the t-shirt, even though that's more, so I get more money. But don't buy, I don't know, maybe you're rich. $4.99 seems expensive for a sticker to me.
Stop right there, criminal scum.
The merch company, I hope they don't watch this. Or maybe they do and we'll lower the prices. It seems that John DeLorean was destined to end up with the top job as CEO of General Motors, so it came as something of a surprise when he suddenly resigned in 1973 to form his own company instead. Well, no, it'd be surprising if he resigned to go and chill out on the beach. It wouldn't be surprising if he left to go and start his own company, because he thinks, I can do better, because he's a narcissistic prick. Maybe. Look, I'm just judging him on the fact that he made his girlfriend a leather-bound book with photos of himself in it. It makes him sound like a bit of a knobbo. He had long expressed frustration at GM executives who seemed determined to wreck his plans for sales growth at every three-point turn. Okay. And he believed that GM were actively trying to keep sales down a bit because if they ever exceeded 50% of all car sales in the US, the government might be inclined to dismantle the company. That's pretty f***ed up, isn't it? It's like, yeah, you're too successful. Careful, guys, don't get too successful. Although it does seem like that's, you know, the law is broken, I guess.
Nobody breaks the law on my watch.
So, but it does seem like a sensible strategy. A big turning point was when he delivered a private speech to 700 top GM executives in a hotel in West Virginia. It wasn't very private then, was it? Yeah, it's a private speech to 700 people. He criticized the current state of the company and the quality of the cars that they were producing. He'd actually, if you haven't seen his new dream, cocaine. Wait, I'm already excited.
God, I miss cocaine.
He wanted to build a new ethical safety sports car, a fuel-efficient car that had minimal environmental impact. And
all of these cocaine references come from the same place. The marketing of Deadpool 2, or just Deadpool itself.
Very best safety features, while both being distinctively stylish and very affordable. John, it sounds like you don't know what a sports car is. Like, yeah, it's incredibly efficient. It's 0 to 60 in 17 seconds and 60 miles to the gallon. It's like, John, you've built a Prius. In a nutshell, he wanted the car to be the absolute best of everything while still being quite cheap to buy. That's a tough commission. Yeah, it sounds pretty impossible. The DeLorean Motor Company, or DCM, no, Danny, DMC. I'm not misreading that. Come on, Danny! DeLorean Company Motor. That doesn't sound right, does it, Danny? DeLorean Motor Company, DMC, was founded in 1975 and quickly got to work on designing the new vehicle, which originally went under the name DMC-12. So called because the idea was to sell the luxurious car for just $12,000, which is, I don't know how many dollars in today's money, but more. 1975, let's assume. When was Mad Men set? Because I remember working out how much something cost on there once, and it was like 10 times as much, or like 8 times as much. So let's just assume 5 times as much. So let's say that it was $60,000 today. That didn't quite work out. Italian designer Giorgio was brought in to create the look of the proposed new vehicle. Although he was largely unknown at the time, he would go on to design a fleet of famous supercars, including the Lotus Spirit, great-looking car, during a long career which saw him named Car Designer of the Century in 1999. That's an accolade. An ambitious prototype of the DMC-12 was developed in 1976 from largely untested new, innovative materials, featuring a fiberglass chassis and an engine stuck in the middle, which was very much in keeping with the spirit of high-end racing cars. However, many of the more ambitious elements were ultimately ditched in favor of more traditional design. At this point I'm wondering, like, how bored must Danny be? Because he's already said, like, I have no interest in cars. Don't understand them. Danny, write me a script about cars. Coming next week, more cars. However, many of the more ambitious elements were ultimately ditched in favor of a much more traditional design. The chassis technology was abandoned and the V6 fuel-injected engine was moved to the back of the car, which significantly reduced the handling power. At least, it still looked pretty stylish though, especially with those incredible gull-wing doors. Yeah, it would be cool. Like, I'd like one of these and then just swap out the engine with something that isn't a piece of that would be cool. The final design of the DMC-12 only came in one color, which was plain stainless steel. John DeLorean was keen to save a few dollars where possible and didn't fancy chucking away good money on paint, so every vehicle was finished with brushed stainless steel and left completely unpainted. It looks insanely cool though. Like the stainless steel look, I think looks epic. It's like a Cybertruck, which I don't know how I feel about that. In some ways, I'm like, that's pretty cool. And in other ways, I'm like, there's no way that's getting on the street, is it, Elon? It doesn't even have wing mirrors. Maybe it's different in America where you can just drive whatever the you want, but there are so many laws in Europe. It's like, if you buy a trailer, right? You know, the thing that goes behind your car that you attach with a tow bar and it sits at the back? The wheels of that thing, you know, they have to have coverings on them. If you have, like, and if you have your wheels sticking out from the car too much, they always have to have a covering, so you get these, like, weird, like, things covering, and There's so many laws, and I'm like, dude,
Why does this
that
keep
Tesla thing,
happening?
if that hits like a cyclist, they're going to be turned into like, you know, just a mist of bones. It just doesn't seem very real. It's gonna, I mean, yes, they'll make a Cybertruck, I'm sure, but it'll end up looking like a Prius. Although it is Elon Musk, so, you know, prove me wrong. I'd like that. It looked pretty awesome. Investment money had been flooding into DMC from all kinds of unexpected places, including from the pockets of musician and comedian Sammy Davis Jr., the host of The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and some guy called Roy Clark. The only Roy Clark that I know of is the writer of a very gentle British comedy series called Last of the Summer Wine. Ah, I remember Last of the Summer Wine. I saw this as a kid and I was like, this is boy. I think my parents might have watched it or some shit like that. Or, you know, back when there were only 4 channels. And you were like, well, I guess I'm just watching whatever's on. It's like the news or Last of the Summer Wine. And I remember it being particularly shite, in which a trio of mischievous pensioners get into comical mishaps around the English countryside and usually end up hurtling down a country lane
build this thing.
in a bath on wheels.
Now that I've
Yeah,
got
it
all
does
the
sound
pieces
bad,
cleaned
doesn't
up.
it? Even the pitch for that is just like, what is this? What is this? Amazingly, they got away with doing it every week for about 37 years. Doing what? I'm so lost. Oh, the TV show. Okay, it's desperately specific, Danny. 37 years for that. It really was. They really never finished that f***ing Summer Wine, did they? However, I think this particular Roy Clark was an American singer and country musician. Who gives a shit talking about cars? Danny's like, oh yeah, I like music, so I'm going to talk about music for 5 minutes. Eventually, we'll get back to cars. Come on, Danny! The big question now was where exactly on the world's map were John DeLorean's now super vehicle enter production?
One piece I forgot.
Original potential venues included Spain, Canada, Ohio, and John's hometown of Detroit.
that's
Well,
where
that
the
would
water
make
turrets
sense.
go.
It's like, yeah, where are you gonna produce the car? Spain. You live in Detroit. Like, that's where, if I think of a place that makes cars, well, obviously I think of China, and then I think of Detroit. Which, you know, China is a massive ass country. Detroit is a specific city. I'm like, Detroit's not a state, right? No, it is a city. Detroit, Illinois? Chicago? Oh, who cares? Detroit, Illinois sounds right. That sounds correct. Chicago,
Michigan.
is a city. Chicago, Ohio? I don't know. I don't fucking know. Who cares? It looked as if it was going to be Puerto Rico for a while, and John even had signed a preliminary agreement to build his factory there on the site of a former US Air Force base. Who cares? Then he received a tempting offer from the UK government to make his cars in Northern Ireland. What's going on? The British government were happy to stump up around $120 million employees, one for the Protestants and one for the Catholics. And the religion is fucking dumb.
Oh, this is
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Smash that dislike button. Someone the other day was like, Simon, I don't like... Did I already mention this? Don't like taking piss out of religion. I said, don't
got the
watch
wrong
Business
piece.
Place.
Damn it.
You know, just don't. It's okay. I don't
Wow,
care.
I wonder it didn't
People
fit.
are like, oh, Simon, if we unsubscribe, it matters to you. No, if you unsubscribe, it doesn't matter. I don't care. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I'm going to do what the f*** I want, and the people who like it will like it. If you don't like it, f*** off. Channeling my inner Michael O'Leary. Okay, where the f*** was I? And the plant was purposefully built as an assemblage, of many different buildings rather than one giant factory, so that if it got bombed to bits in an attack, some of the buildings might survive, and production of fancy new cars wouldn't completely grind to a halt, because that's the priority. It's like, oh yeah, well, building B got blown up, 400 people died, but the good news is we've still got, you know, we'll still be making cars. The optics of that, not brilliant, are they? DMC, UK government, whoever the f*** is doing all this. A pressing problem was that most of the new staff just didn't have any experience at all in making cars. This was one of the key factors that led to endless quality control issues, massive delays, and big budget overruns. The first of the long-delayed vehicles eventually began to roll off the production line in 1981, although by this time the name DMC-12 had been dropped when the company realized that the price tag would be over twice as much as they'd originally hoped. Ah, DMC-12, like $12,000. Genius. Oh no, we'll have to rename it. What a shame, because DMC-12 was fucking catchy. The newly christened DMC DeLorean, more commonly known as just the DeLorean, named after, I mean, you can see, like, the guy who names the car after himself is obviously the same guy who gave his girlfriend a gift of a leather-bound book with his own headshots in it. It's weird. It would go on sale for $25,000 or about 70 grand in today's money. Oh, I was well off with my previous guess, because I said, like, 12,000 would be 60,000, so it'd actually be more like 35, which is, that's not bad. That's not bad. Like, That Tesla, that Model 3, for 35 grand, I feel is quite a good deal. That's quite a car. It has to be said that a reception to the new DeLorean was less than overwhelming. The first wave of cars were still plagued with technical issues which eventually got ironed out in later models when the staff of the factory in Belfast started to figure out what they all were meant to be doing. But the critics were still far from impressed.
Get the damn wheel on.
It was generally felt that whilst the DeLorean looked amazing, its performance was very disappointing. The car was equipped with relatively feeble horsepower. It was like 100 and something, wasn't it? In comparison to, say, Chevrolet's Corvette, which was about 10 grand cheaper to buy at the time. This is one thing about American cars. Like, the American, like, sports cars, you know, I guess, like, the Chevrolet Corvette is one of these with all the swoopy lines and stuff. They are very cheap for what they are. Like, you look at an equivalent, like, McLaren or something, and it's like, yeah, it's 3 times the price. I mean, they're much less cool. I mean, I get the appeal, like the muscle car and stuff, but it ain't a Ferrari, is it? It was also criticized, smash that dislike button. It was also criticized for its relatively poor handling, which can be largely attributed to the earlier decision to shift the engine to the back of the car. And sales were slow, not helped along by the fact that the US economy had just entered a recession. Oh, bad timing. I have to say that I'm rushing through this business place a little bit because I really needed to get one recorded because we're so behind the times, behind schedule. But finally, coronavirus lockdown is over as of yesterday. The boiler man is coming to install me a new boiler today, and I'm very excited because it's f***ing cold. Actually, it's not so cold because it's like May now, but yeah, I'm still excited. It's still a little chilly. I'm excited to get a new boiler, it must be said. For those of you who are wondering what the fuck I'm talking about, my boiler stopped working like 3 months ago, just as Corona started, and yeah, it's been chilly in my office. Blah, 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 blah. DMC estimated that it would need to shift about 10 to 12,000 new vehicles in order to break even, although exact figures were never published. It's reported that less than 6,000 DeLoreans were ever sold, but John DeLorean still felt that the situation could be rescued with a little bit of help. By the way, I would like, getting a DeLorean is on my life goals. I feel like the Back to the Future movies are some of my favorite films. I would like to own a DeLorean. One of my favorite YouTubers, I watch a lot of car YouTube because I'm like Danny, I find cars interesting. Hoovie's Garage, he bought like a DeLorean. It was insanely cheap because it was like a piece of shit automatic one that no one won. But it is a great looking car, and he has a lot of fun with it. But John DeLorean still felt that the situation could be rescued with a little bit of help. He was hoping for some more financial assistance from the UK government, but the bad news here was that the Labour government, which had first signed the deal to build the new factory, had now been booted out of power. And in comes Conservative Prime Minister Maggie Thatcher, and she wasn't so keen on DeLorean cars. All she cared about was scoop ice cream. OG Business Place legend joke there. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, well, you haven't watched enough past Business Place, so I'd recommend you go back and watch them all. Click on all of the adverts as well, because Simon likes his money. DMC proposed a restructuring of the company, which would take it public, but the problem with this plan is that it would have personally enriched John DeLorean while leaving other investors, such as the UK government, with crumbs. John DeLorean's like, yeah, do it! Government money! Thatcher wasn't having any of that. She immediately cut off all future investment to the company, placing the Northern Ireland factory into receivership. A furious John DeLorean later claimed that Thatcher only closed down the Belfast plant because she believed that Catholic employees were tithing or contributing 10% of their wages towards the organisation the Irish Republican Army. I have no idea, no comment. Things were about to get even worse for John DeLorean though. In 1982, he was sat down in a Los Angeles hotel with a guy called James Hoffman and a very big suitcase of cocaine. Here we go! Or at least something that looked a lot like cocaine. John DeLorean was unaware that this shady encounter was being filmed by the FBI. James Hoffman, a previously convicted drug smuggler himself, alleged that DeLorean had approached him with the idea of bankrolling a cocaine smuggling operation to help provide DMC with a handy injection of cash. It's like, look, John, if your business is only going to work by you doing some massively illegal activity, it's not going to work. Just let it go. It's okay. But narcissism shall prevail. Hoffman had brought the suitcase to show DeLorean the quality of the goods, supposedly about 27 kilograms or $6.5 million worth of it. Well, I only need a little to sample it. A jolly John DeLorean was captured on camera saying that the white stuff was better than gold, and the videotaped conversation turned to the possibility of organizing a bigger $24 million deal. In fact, the stuff in the suitcase was fake, as the whole thing had been carefully orchestrated by the FBI to ensnare DeLorean. Is that legal? I thought that's like entrapment.
'Tis indeed a trap.
He was immediately arrested for drug trafficking and would face trial 2 years later. Just a week after his arrest, DMC filed for bankruptcy, and the Belfast plant closed its separate doors for good. The Ohio-based company, Big Lots, acquired what was left and ended up completing and selling the last 100 remaining DeLorean vehicles. I believe there's a company that sells like modern refurbished DeLoreans, like they take the original or like original ones that were never completed, all the parts and stuff, and they actually assemble them. I think they're really expensive because, you know, they're actually doing a good job and they're not now. God, I'd love one of those, but I think they're like 100 grand or something. Pretty pricey. So, and also for 100 grand, I think there are cars that I'd rather get before I bought a DeLorean. Oh, so things weren't looking particularly peachy for John DeLorean in the mid-1980s. On the plus side, the Back to the Future films were just about to transform the vehicle into a cinematic legend. But on the downside, this was during a period where John DeLorean's car and his entire career were now very much considered things of the past. Yeah, you also could be going to prison for a long time, dude. Like, I know that, like, you can go, I feel like in America, I've brought this up a bunch, like, because it's always like, yeah, they stole some investor money and now they're in prison for like 78 years. It's like, oh shit. And I know that it's like, yeah, they found like one joint on me and now I'm in prison for life without parole. It's like, dude, if you're smuggling like 24 kilograms of cocaine or whatever, I'm gonna bet it's not gonna be a great time. His vehicle would be hitting the silver screen in genius works of fiction against the painfully real backdrop of failure, a bankrupt company, and drug trafficking charges. And just to rub salt in the wounds, we can throw another 15 federal charges of racketeering, fraud, and tax evasion into the pretty lousy decade he was having. Oh, John, it's not gonna go well. It's alleged that around $17 million of investor money had been rather absent-mindedly mislaid. A Swiss company called General Product Development had been set up. It's called into question. Colin Chapman died of a heart attack. Dun dun dun! And John DeLorean did it. No, he didn't. Allegedly, not really. I'm just making that up. It's comedic effect. Wait, did he do it? I don't think so. However, things were soon going to take a more positive turn for John DeLorean. In fact, he must have picked up an almighty dollop of the luck of the Irish during his time in Belfast, because despite facing up to 87 years in jail, I told you, if he found guilty of all charges, he was somehow acquitted of everything! It's incredible! How? The FBI sting was declared illegal by the jury. I thought so, when it was revealed that the former drug dealer turned informant James Hoffman had originally pursued DeLorean with a supposedly legitimate deal. Yeah, don't entrap people, FBI. It's not cool. DeLorean claims, yeah, it's like, you can't make people into criminals and then arrest them for being a criminal. It's just not ethically on, is it? DeLorean claims that, wait, I've got an FBI cap somewhere. Someone sent me an FBI cap. I should be wearing that right now, but I'm not going to do it because I'm in a rush. Miraculously, he was acquitted of all fraud charges too, even though it remains quite unclear where the missing millions went. The estate of Colin Chapman agreed to pay £4.67 million to the UK government, while the financial director of Lotus,
if you saw me
Bushell,
put it on that sticker,
was
I don't know
fined
when it stopped.
£4.5 million and sentenced to 3 years in prison. Wait, the guy who didn't even get any of the money? But John DeLorean was cleared of any wrongdoing for reasons that may never be entirely understood. Even his own lawyer remarked that he was lucky to be acquitted. John, you legend. I mean, you dick. But like, wow. So you did none of this stuff. Everything's allegedly, which I see why Danny is like, never said he did any of this stuff. Wow. That's incredible. Whoever his lawyer is, I hope he's bloody rich. That doesn't necessarily mean that John DeLorean drove off happily into the sunset. He would continue to fight legal battles throughout the 1990s and was eventually declared bankrupt in 1999. He was forced to sell his 500-acre estate in New Jersey, which was snapped up by Donald Trump. Of course it was. And now goes under the Trump National Golf Club. I can't believe that's actually real. If you pay a visit, check out the steaks and bottled water. There's lots of sprinkled OG Business Blaze jokes into this one. I hope you appreciate them, and new people, f*** you. Go back and watch all my other videos. I hope people know that I am joking with that, and I do appreciate you discovering this channel and watching, because it's how I make a living. Thank you. When asked if he had any plans to resurrect his automotive career, John DeLorean once quipped, "Would you buy a used car from me?" No, John, I wouldn't. Although I would like a DeLorean, so I guess yes. The DeLorean car might make a comeback though. The brand is now owned by the Texas-based DeLorean Motor Company, who have no connection to the original company, but apparently plan to push ahead with new DeLorean vehicles in 2021. Sounds a bit unlikely. I mean, there's new regulations and stuff. You can't build cars that are just like old cars, although I have seen electric versions of the Jaguar E-Type, but they're like $500,000 or something. I wouldn't trust myself with one of those. I'd definitely crash it. Although it's worth noting, I probably wouldn't crash it. I'd just be parking it, and I'd ding it really badly, and they'd be like, yeah, it's 80 grand to fix that ding. Why? Although it's worth noting that they've been making similar promises for years. By the time they get around to doing it, we may well be living in a world with no roads. John DeLorean spent his final years flogging very pricey watches over the internet under the banner of DeLorean Time, in the hopes that he might raise enough to get back into automobile production. I thought you just said no one likes your automobiles. In fact, if you bought one of his fancy timepieces for $3,500, what? DeLorean Time, you're not Rolex, you know. You were awarded with a priority place on the waiting list for new planned vehicles. The certificate bundled with the watch was personally signed by John DeLorean himself and promised that your priority place was significant because overwhelming response is anticipated. Alas, it never happened, and John DeLorean died from complications following a stroke in 2005. Yeah, he was old.
Points down.
His son, Zachary DeLorean, had very mixed feelings about his father's supercar, which is perhaps understandable considering the bold original vision, the watered-down version that eventually hit the market, the iconic stages on the silver screen, and the legal battles and scandals that followed the demise of the company in the dream. On the one hand, I feel proud of my father, says Zachary. On the other hand, I just want to blow the thing up. No one cares, Zachary. You're just the son of the guy. You didn't do anything. Why do we care? I don't care. Bonus fact. The DeLorean car may now mostly be remembered for being a time-traveling vehicle in the Back to the Future films, but this nearly didn't happen at all. The original idea for Doc Brown's... Oh, it was a fridge, wasn't it? Time-traveling machine. Was it be just a simple laser device? Oh, I thought it was going to be a fridge or something. Was that just an urban legend? But this was rejected on the grounds that it was an incredibly dull idea. Also, how do you travel in a laser? The second draft of the script, it was decided that the machine would be a fridge. Hey! But then the producers decided this might encourage youngsters to climb inside refrigerators, so this idea was scrapped too. If you climb inside a refrigerator and get stuck, will you suffocate? Does air come into a refrigerator? I guess so, because they got to bring like cool air in, right? After finally deciding to go with a car, the producers chose the DeLorean because it already looked quite similar to a futuristic spaceship with those cool gull-wing doors. But this decision was only made after the film's co-creator Bob Gale had rejected a proposal from Ford to use one of their Mustangs, even though Ford were offering a tempting $75,000 as part of the deal. Oh boy, Ford, you should have ramped up that offer to... I mean, hindsight 2020, that would be worth millions. Tens, if not hundreds of millions, because think of the fact that DeLoreans are still desirable today, even though there are so few of them, just because of the cult status. Can you imagine? Like, yeah, no.
Yeah, only because
they rudely snubbed the offer, reportedly told Ford that Doc Brown doesn't drive a f***ing Mustang. What a legend. It's not clear what brands of time-traveling fridge Doc Brown would have had in his kitchen. Ba-da-boom-boom, that was a good use of paper. This has been Business Blaze. Thank you very much for watching. We managed to squeeze this in before the Boiler Man arrives. Any second, I'm just waiting for the boo-doo of my doorbell. But again, thank you for watching. Smash that like button or dislike button. I feel like I said lots of shit in this video that you might dislike. So do that. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Oh, and if people are wondering, like, Simon, why don't you just record when the Boiler Man is here? And
I mean, the whole video is about the DeLorean, so...
I'm fucking crazy. Thank you for watching.
I got a blister.
'Tis indeed a trap.
No, he's not talking about cars anymore. Because the video's over.
Sailor Zombie Esther. I'm just impressed it was that long.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sailor Zombie Esther. Or maybe I'm just losing time.
No, it was a half-hour video.
What's up, guys? My name is Jake, and welcome to Abandoned, episode 55. Back in the summer of 2019, we went on a road trip through the northeastern United States. It was the same road trip where we filmed the astonishing Neville Hotel, and for some reason we were approaching Atlantic City for the ending of our journey. But we weren't going there to enjoy the beaches or try our luck in the casinos. For a while now, I've known about a troubled hotel development on the New Jersey coast. a massive modern glass tower that looks like a shining star in an otherwise somewhat dated skyline of aging casino hotels. One that at one point was abandoned. So, me being me, of course I wanted to check it out for myself, and while it was a pleasant stay, it got me thinking on how this architectural marvel failed so spectacularly. So, since my last episode in the Abandoned series was on an insane project that burned through millions of dollars, I figured this particular property had its own insane story to tell. One concluding with the resort that still isn't finished
Sailor
today.
Zombie
So
Esther.
let's take a deeper dive
She started a
into the
campfire.
Ocean Casino Resort
I wish my
in
panic
Atlantic
attacks were
City,
this productive.
or formerly known
Was
as
that not the
Rebel
entire point? I'm
Casino
confused.
Hotel. This episode has been made possible by my Patreon supporters. If you want to help support the channel and get a bunch of great perks in return, go to patreon.com/brightsunfilms or click the link in the description below. It all started in 2006 when the investment bank Morgan Stanley purchased a 20-acre parcel of land adjacent to the Showboat Hotel and Casino. They spent around $70 million on it with the hope to build a massive and world-renowned casino resort. They placed an industry executive by the name of Kevin DeSanctis in charge of developing this ambitious plan, and by mid-2007, Morgan Stanley announced their official plans for what they intended to do at the site. This included two massive 700-foot hotel towers which were comprised of over 4,000 rooms. This sat above a huge casino with parking space for around 7,000 cars. This was obviously ambitious, especially for the time, as these towers would have been the tallest in all of New Jersey. So eventually later that year, the project
I
was
love how the
scaled back to just one
blue
hotel
vehicle
tower
only
for
has
now, with an
one blue
opening date.
sprue with 3 parts on it. The rest is stickers and paint.
Of 2010. It was called the Revel Casino Hotel. Construction broke ground in late 2007 and went vertical by early 2008. However, those dates are
Sailor
probably
Zombie
sounding
Esther.
a little tedious to
Blue
all of
Thrower.
you. 2008 wasn't exactly the best year to be building a luxury, massive casino, as the United States was facing a detrimental recession. Atlantic City was instantly put in a dreadful situation as consumers weren't spending as much excess income there. And by early 2009, funding for construction was quickly running out, which led to thousands of workers being laid off. Progress then slowed just as the tower was topping out. Suddenly, the Revel appeared to be not such a great idea as the shining tower rose above a now depressed area. By April of 2010, in a shocking move, Morgan Stanley decided to pull out of the project after investing over $1.2 billion. They decided
That's
to
a lot
take
of money.
a $900 million loss rather than spend the additional $1 billion it would take to finish the project. Because of this, Revel was put in a precarious situation as the half-finished casino was left in limbo. This prompted the remaining developers to scramble, trying to find the necessary funding to keep the construction going. But in a move which, for those of you who watched my American Dream Mall video may find similar, let's say, New Jersey's then governor Chris Christie had stepped in and announced his state government would be providing $260 million in financing. So now, with the state backing this resort, Revel had refined their project, now canceling the planned second tower and scaling back their hotel rooms to just 1,000. Actually, that second tower was already being built when the developers had canceled it. In early construction photos, you can actually see vertical construction on it alongside Tower 1. However, once it was abandoned, the already built structure was just
And there's my
topped off
siren.
just a few floors high, and the planned rooms just became other spaces. So now as you look at the building from certain angles, it clearly shows that a second tower was already somewhat built before it was abruptly cancelled. Morgan Stanley eventually sold their stake for just $30 million on March 2nd, 2011, and a day later, construction had finally resumed. The dormant site once again sprung to life, and now with consistent progress, an opening date was announced for April 2nd, 2012. finally, after 6 years of development, the Revel Casino Hotel Atlantic City officially opened to the public. The resort had so far cost $2.4 billion to get the doors open. However, that's not to say what they finished wasn't good quality. The resort itself was modern and aesthetically pleasing, with wide open concourses, great views from the many hotel rooms, and lots of amenities. However, on the casino side of things, it ranked almost at the bottom of Atlantic City's 12 major casinos in terms of winnings. Revel had a pretty lackluster grand opening, yet officials and politicians celebrated the 10,000 new jobs the resort created. Governor Christie said in the official press release for the opening, quote, "The completion of Revel and its opening is a turning point for Atlantic City and a clear sign that people once again have faith in the city's ability to come back and be successful." Revel was often thought to be the saving grace for the city, a luxury resort to start a new chapter for the area. However, in reality, Revel's financial situation told an entirely different story. By the second quarter of 2012, the resort lost more than $35 million, which was preceded by an even worse third quarter loss of $37 million. By November,
don't be
casino
losing that much money.
officials were throwing up the red flags of a potential bankruptcy, just as Atlantic City claimed Revel failed to pay $12 million in property taxes. They also still owed over $50 million to independent contractors. Despite securing over $100 million in long-term loans, the resort still couldn't keep up with the massive amounts of money they were losing. By February of 2013, just 10 months after opening, Revel had filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection.
Yikes.
They were over $5 billion in debt. In the filing, Revel had declared that the resort's value had dropped from almost $2.5 billion to now just $450 million. They also revealed that their current trajectory, they wouldn't be profitable until 2017. The resort had ultimately not found any way out of their dire situation, and after a second bankruptcy petition, in August of 2014, Revel announced that no buyers were found to bail the hotel out of its debt, and unbelievably, they added that the Revel Hotel and Casino would close on September 2nd, 2014, just 2.5 years after opening. So in early September, the Revel closed alongside 3 other major casinos in Atlantic City. Now the biggest question was, what was going to happen to the almost brand new mega hotel? Glenn Straub, a developer, decided to bid on the project and eventually won, taking control under his golf course company. So in early 2015, he purchased Revel for just $82 million. That's just 3.4% of what it costs to build. Straub renamed the complex to Polo North and claimed the hotel and casino would be open for business by the summer. During this time, the city had actually cut power and water to the building for around 20 days, as the energy companies were engaged in a fee dispute, all while the mega hotel and casino sat empty and now abandoned. Through the rest of 2015, the property was only allowed cold running water and was eventually threatened by the local sewage company to withhold their dumping privileges. Glenn, however, had high hopes for his hotel, stating in early 2016 that the resort would be reformatted into a family entertainment destination, which would also now feature a water park. He also put a new opening date on the table for June of that year. For being abandoned going on almost 2 years at this point, the building itself was apparently in pretty good condition. This was likely because critical engineering staff was kept running the building, keeping it up so major damage wouldn't be inflicted. But all of that came at a cost. They were supposedly spending around $1 million every month just on maintenance. Straub had apparently ensured everything was ready to go, but as summer 2016 came and went, Polo North never opened. Later that year, Glenn revised his intended opening date for now early 2017 and announced a new name for the resort, 10 Atlantic City. However, as you probably guessed, it never opened. After empty promises and little hope from the public, the resort was sinking further and further back into debt. Rumors then began circulating that 10 was seeking a buyer and that its current owners didn't even have the means to open it. Finally, on January 8th, 2018, those rumors had actually turned out to be true when it was announced that a company called AC Ocean Walk would acquire the resort for around $200 million. And now, finally, someone was serious about opening this property back up. AC announced that their company would invest another $175 million to bring the abandoned and slowly decaying structure back up to a presentable state for opening. Finally, the hotel was renamed for the last time to the Ocean Resort Casino. And after almost 4 years of sitting empty and effectively abandoned, the not-so-new resort reopened on June 27, 2018. The hotel opened with over 100,000 square feet of gaming, 19 restaurants, 6 bars, and a full spa. The property also boasts an expansive set of common areas, lobbies, and conference rooms. Most of the original decor, however, is unchanged from the original Revel Hotel, most notably in the guest rooms, as they're pretty much the exact same as they were in the original. Overall, the entire structure is around 6.3 million square feet, which is almost the same size as the Pentagon, so it's pretty large. When I visited, I actually didn't know what to expect, and when I first entered, I was taken back by how actually massive the facility is. I did enjoy the architecture, and I thoroughly enjoyed our room. The views were especially nice. I think the best part about it, though, was the price. King rooms can be as cheap as $49 a night, which is astonishingly good. We've spent more on another dirty room, and haven't exactly gotten these types of accommodations. However, with that being said, the resort is a bit of a maze, which tends to happen when a building this large is designed for another client. There's also the fact that the resort still isn't really finished. There are several large rooms and even floors in the main tower that are completely unfinished. There are actually 12 entire empty floors where around 600 extra rooms were framed, yet never built. What's even more strange is that these unfinished rooms are in between active finished rooms. So guests are actually staying above and below a section of the hotel that is just unfinished. I suppose it's one of the last remnants of the tumultuous past for this property. So what's happening now? Well, when the resort first opened, they were still not profitable, and even sparked rumors of another bankruptcy. The new company which owned it was led by a man named Bruce Diafer. However, just 6 months into operating the struggling resort, he was abruptly killed in a single car crash. The result of his death behind the wheel was from an apparent medical event. So one of his primary lenders assumed control of the resort in early 2019, and after another $70 million was pumped into the hotel, the results are finally positive. According to them, Ocean, for the first time ever, was self-sufficient in 2020 prior to the global pandemic.
Oops.
However, of course, due to the events of COVID, it forced the hotel to temporarily close. I am almost positive that the property will not make any money through 2020 for many reasons. Mostly because they had to shut down, and they won't be able to fill the hotel to their desired capacity. And that sets an unknown course into the future, since who knows how long that will last, and how big of a financial impact it'll have. My feelings on this are a bit mixed. On one side, I enjoyed our room there. Waking up to the view was great, and the restaurant we ate at was pretty good. It was an interesting experience walking through something I knew had had such a rough history, and even sat abandoned for a couple years. But there was also a weird feeling I got there. Like, everything wasn't exactly right, and everything was hastily being held together for something that might just collapse. But I guess I am a bit biased since I rather dislike casino hotels altogether. I guess in the end, the story of this building was the most interesting part about it. The otherwise seemingly standard, modern mega resort hides in plain sight unless you know the actual story. Unfortunately for them, however, most people in the area do. To me, the fact that it went through so many owners, burned through literal billions of dollars, then sold for a fraction of that is unbelievable.
Almost lost another
one. You would never think
one.
a building so modern and fancy would have gone through a nightmare it did, but here we are. It's been 14 years and the Ocean Resort is still not really finished. And it really is hard to find anyone else but the developers to blame for wasting so much time and money. So I guess in the end, it was the Revel who had the gambling problem.
Roll
I
badum
want to give a huge
tush?
thanks to my wonderful and generous Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the content I do and appreciate the enormous amount of time it takes me to make these videos, then Patreon is the best way to show your support. Just added is a bunch of brand new merchandise like limited edition Polaroids, and now even t-shirts, mugs, and sweaters, all made exclusively for Patreon supporters and won't be sold anywhere else. It's a fantastic new reward for showing your support, among others like having your name at the end of this video, and see my videos in some cases a week before the public does. Join my special Patreon community today by going to patreon.com/brightsunfilms, or by clicking the link in the description below. Seriously, thank you all to have been supporting me there, and those of you who wish to in the future. It really does help me a lot in making these videos. Anyway guys, my name is Jake, and thank you very much for watching.
Get on there. Is there a trick to this? There it goes. There we go. Okay, and the last one. It's been a while since I built one of these, you know, just one kit per night. So I built I built my Voltron here, one lion per night, when I got my job at a previous call center job, because I picked it up at AWA that year, and I built it, you know, in accordance with that. Built it like right when I started the new job, one per night. It was fun. So I'm kind of doing the same thing here, you know, just started this new job, building one a night. It's not an intentional tradition, but it's neat. Where do all these go? Okay, that's for the robot pelvis. Those are the, I know what those go to. Stickers, where do my stickers go? Say hi if you're still with me. Going to assume you're not still with me. Okay. I'll put this on just because. Probably seen this.
I deliberately left this one out to avoid this from happening.
Hey y'all, 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 Scott here, and yeah, welcome to New Location McGee, as she likes to be called it. Old Location McGee and I had a bit of a falling out. Well, at least we have so much more room for activities. The ambiance of this place is crazy. This is the first time I've ever experienced what charm smells like, and it smells a whole lot like piss. Well, in terms of what to talk about first, I guess I can look at exactly how many games I promised to take a look at soon. Jesus Christ. Alright, let's just get this one out of the way. Yeah. Super Mario Galaxy 2 was originally developed as a remixed and expanded version of the original Mario Galaxy, with Nintendo EAD initiating development right after the release of the first game. They just kept coming up with more ideas, and I think we can all understand why. The entire concept of Super Mario Galaxy had and still has potential. Galaxy 1 didn't not feel fully realized or incomplete in any way. It just felt like the game's concept could easily warrant a sequel. Under the development names of Super Mario Galaxy More and Super Mario Galaxy 1.5, the team realized they actually wanted to sell the game, so they gave it the title of Super Mario Galaxy 2, achieving full sequel status. This was actually because the new ideas they were cramming into this thing just started to overload the expansion they were developing, and it was enough to consider it a full-blown sequel. At E3 2009, the penultimate big reveal of Nintendo's press conference was Super Mario Galaxy 2, sporting a tall logo, showcasing Yoshi being brought into the mix, new galaxies to explore, some new concepts, and that was about it. It was truly more of Mario Galaxy. About a year later in North America, it was released on May 23, 2010, with a May 27th release for Japan and a June 11th release for Europe. This game just started to roll in the praise. If you thought Super Mario Galaxy was a critical success, you're a moron. Look at this! Jesus, man, people absolutely adored this game. Now, with this in mind, and Mario Galaxy being my favorite game of all time, you'd think nope, I bought it 3 years later. Yeah, I mean, give me a break. I was 13 in 2010. I was more so worried about what flavor of Capri Sun was in my lunch. Plus, I couldn't drive. I didn't have $50 to spend on a new Wii game at whim. Whatever. Come 2013, I find it at a used game store, and I'm like, yeah, I picked it up, I played it, I loved it, I stopped about a quarter of the way through. I don't know, man, I think I just got distracted with other things, but recently I finally sat down and played through the whole game. Let's talk about it. Super Mario Galaxy 2 picks up right where the last one left off. Gotcha! Galaxy 2's story is told via this storybook method. It starts things off with the Star Festival, a celebration that happens every 100 years. Rewind to Galaxy 1, where it starts things off with the Star Festival, a celebration that happens every 100 years. Yeah, it's weird. Super Mario Galaxy 2 is kind of a retelling, reimagining, whatever you want to call it, of the first Galaxy. Let me just quickly recap the first one. Bowser kidnaps Peach. In this one, Bowser kidnaps Peach, but with a much more lighthearted, almost comedic tone. Galaxy 1 was meant to be taken a bit more seriously than other Mario games, especially after Sunshine. Scenes were much more dramatic with intense lighting and a booming orchestra. Peach getting kidnapped by Bowser is an everyday occurrence, but Galaxy 1 not only had us exploring the cosmos to get her back, but introduced us to Rosalina, who helped us out by allowing the use of her ship, the Comet Observatory, and she also had some actual backstory. Completely optional backstory, but hey, it was still there. Shigeru Miyamoto wanted Galaxy 2 to have as little story as possible, and it shows. They do manage to stuff a good amount of cute plot in here, I guess, but the problem I have with this isn't the light story, it's completely disregarding the first game even happened, or just flat out ignoring a ton of elements of it. Yeah, at the end of the first game, Rosalina resets the events of everything, but Mario still remembers what happens, and Galaxy 2 just acts as more of a reimagining of the same events from 1. I get it, they wanted the game to be more accessible to newcomers, but already naming it Super Mario Galaxy 2 is gonna deter some people. Might as well come up with a more clever plot that both returning Galaxy fans and newcomers can enjoy. I mean, I don't care about it that much, but the plot and ambiance of Galaxy 1 was some of the best in the main Mario series, was far from intrusive, and didn't bog the game down in any way. So to see it downplayed so much here, in my opinion, is a bit of a shame. Anyways, the opening section starts off in 2D and gradually turns 3D, which I always thought was really smart, both a showcase for the progression of the Mario series and helping to ease newcomers into the game. Once you meet up with the baby Luma, it then gives you the ability to spin attack. You see a Bowser the size of Mongolia wreaking havoc on the castle, he kidnaps Peach, go. After completing the first level, you're thrown onto a ship run by Lubba, Luma equivalent to that wacky uncle we all have. Grab power stars to power the ship to get to Bowser, easy peasy. And with that, the best way to describe Super Mario Galaxy 2 would be it's as if Super Mario Galaxy just kept on going. I gotta be honest, nothing screams evolution or progression about this one. It's just more Mario Galaxy levels. Nothing drastic was changed or improved, just differences in how the levels are presented to us. We'll get to that in a sec. Should anybody complain about it? God, no! What really needed improved with Mario Galaxy to begin with? I think any problems people have with the game are just based on Galaxy's formula of more linear level design, and even then, I think you have to admit, it's not bad. It's just probably not for you. There weren't many definitive problems with the original game, so with a sequel, I almost think it would have to be on an all-new, more powerful platform to be more distinct from the original. With this being Super Mario Galaxy 2, this of course means that Galaxy's mechanics are all brought over. From what I can tell, everything is retained from the first game. You can jump, crouch, long jump, wall jump, spin by shaking the Wii remote. It's all back and still feels great. Gravity is still a key aspect of the gameplay here, as we can walk all around various terrains. However, it's definitely downplayed compared to the first game. Don't get me wrong, Galaxy 2 still does a ton with gravity, but it felt like the first game flaunted it a lot more. 2 is more so concerned with using it when it benefits the level design. One thing Galaxy 2 definitely does differently is the difficulty. This isn't the hardest game out there by any means, but it's definitely much more difficult than the first game. I welcome the challenge. While Galaxy 1 was never painfully easy to the point where it was boring, it only really got challenging near the very end of a 120-star playthrough. Galaxy 2 definitely puts up more of a challenge, and that makes it more interesting if you're playing both games back to back. If you're way past lame at a certain level though, and die like way too many times in a row, the game offers the Cosmic Spirit as a helping hand, taking the form of a ghostly Rosalina. It'll complete the level for you. No thank you. Like I said, Mario Galaxy 2 feels like more Mario Galaxy
they did that in Super Mario Bros. New Super Mario Bros. Wii as well. It's just like, I mean, I get it, but
most missions were more so getting from point A to point B compared to Mario 64's and Sunshines, which were much more open-ended. Mario Galaxy 2 takes the linearity from Galaxy 1, takes a highlighter to it, and does unspeakable things. Galaxy 1 didn't really have a lot of exploratory levels. The main one I remember that kind of felt like that would be the Honey Hive Galaxy, and even then, calling that a super open-ended level is kind of hyperbole. Galaxy 2 focuses a lot more on obstacle course-like stages. There's not a ton of exploration here at all. Galaxies in this game feel more like a series of platforming challenges. It doesn't feel out of place compared to the first game, though. First off, Galaxy 1 had its fair share of obstacle course-like designs, and also, we're in space. Anything can happen. A giant block of wood, it's in space, it makes sense. I think the best way to describe it would be imagine if Super Mario 3D World was way more interesting in terms of its design. Galaxy 2 is platform challenge after platform challenge. Also, this game is way more fast-paced than
it's
the
gotta
first
go
game.
somewhere.
It feels like the game is constantly shaking you, telling you to get on with it and select the level, get to the
Oh
end.
shit,
With
supposed
more
to go there.
linear designs, that means there's not as many Power Star missions in each galaxy. There's only about 3 per stage, but that means we get loads more unique galaxies, so it feels like every other minute, Galaxy 2 throws a brand new idea in your face. Of course, this is a 3D Mario game, so you have to get to these levels somehow. The first game featured the hub world known as the Comet Observatory, which was cool, but had very little in terms of things to do in it. You just entered different rooms to access the levels. Galaxy 2 uses this, Starship Mario. Compared to the Comet Observatory, this thing is the size of a nickel. However, there's far more to do here. There's more characters to talk to, and there's more things to screw around with. I wish it was much bigger though, everything feels really cramped. But all this is completely optional. The meat and potatoes here is the front of the ship. Step on this pad and you're taken to the world map, a way to get you straight to the action. Many have compared the world map in Galaxy 2 to older 2D Mario games, and to that I say, what 2D Mario games were you playing? This is fundamentally just a straight line. You don't really get much of a choice as to which level you tackle next. Every now and then you hit a fork in the road and get to choose, but the majority of the time, the game tells you you have to beat a certain level to progress. That's fine, but definitely a bit different compared to the first game. The world map is way less interesting, but does make things a bit quicker to just hop into a level. However, there's some really odd bloat here for a game so hell-bent on getting you into the action as quickly as possible. Like take for example, on the world map you may encounter a hungry Luma. These you have to feed a certain amount of star bits you've collected to access a new pathway to new levels. Clicking on them calls them to Starship Mario. You then have to walk up to them, talk to them, feed them, they transform, then you have to go back to the world map to access the levels. Why? Why not just do this whole thing when you click the Luma on the map screen? For a game that's so adamant about just shoving your face into new levels, this always stuck out as an odd design choice. Also, a brand new collectible in the levels are the Comet Medals. After you collect them, the Prankster Comet version of that level will become playable, which is a remixed, more difficult version of that stage, whether that be putting it under a strict time limit, giving you only one sliver of health, that kind of stuff. Here's the thing though, while I like the idea of the comet medals, they were never a challenge to obtain. I grabbed almost every single one of them my first time through the levels, so to me, they never really held much value at all. Of course, for the medals that I didn't find my first time around, it was a bit of a chore to go through the levels I 100% completed otherwise all over again just to get the medal. It's just an extra step to unlock the prankster comets. In the first game, they kinda appeared randomly after grabbing most of the power stars in the corresponding level. Alright, I just whined about a sequel to my favorite game of all time long enough. Let's get into the main portion of the game, the levels. God, this is good! Chompworks Galaxy, oh my god, it's like you're part of a Rube Goldberg contraption trying to get a chain shot from point A to B. Clouded Core Galaxy might even be sexier than Gusty Garden Galaxy from the first game. Puzzle Plank, god, what a boppin' tune. Every single time you blink, this game throws something new at you. It's insane! Flipsville is just neato, not gonna lie. Throwback Galaxy, only Super Mario Galaxy can rehash so much and get away with it. Jesus, the absolute size of this boss fight. This game is absolutely fantastic. It's amazing. It houses some of the best level
The other thing was
design
weird that there
out
was no
there.
reflective
It
sticker
does some
underneath
things
there.
differently compared to the first game, and they aren't bad changes by any means. They're just different. It helps differentiate the two games more because while I don't think Galaxy 2 had to be wildly different from the first game, let's be honest, putting the two games side to side, it might be pretty hard to tell which one is which. I welcome the changes to the format, but I'm a Galaxy 1 guy personally, that's why the whining just had to be there. I think both games are equally good when you get down to it, so considering which one is better, it's more so down to personal preference. But let's talk more Galaxy 2.
Alright, Blue
Most
Thrower
obvious
is
additions to this
done.
game are
Sailor
as
Zombie
follows.
Esther.
Yoshi.
Oh boy,
Yeah,
Scoot.
Yoshi finally makes his Galaxy debut in the sequel, and it was definitely worth the wait. Hop on him, and now your cursor turns into a Yoshi tongue passport, allowing it to get to all kinds of places it shouldn't be able to. Yoshi also has various things he can eat up to gain certain powers, turning into a giant balloon, illuminating hidden passageways, and zipping through an entire level. These are a blast, and really solidify Yoshi as being one of the best additions to this game. But Yoshi isn't the only one getting new power-ups. Most of Mario's power-ups function the same as they did in the previous game, as in they all have that glorious context sensitivity. Most are only really here to give you a break from the standard
I definitely
top
complained
and bottom
before about that
action.
door.
All power-ups that were in Galaxy 1 reappear here, except for the Ice Flower and Red Star. I mean, those wouldn't be the power-ups I would remove personally, but whatever. The power-ups introduced in this game
fits
kinda make up for it.
in.
The Spin Drill, Rock Mushroom,
Rough.
and Cloud Flower. The Spin Drill and Rock Mushroom are kind of in the same camp. They're fun to use, but of course are only really useful in specific instances.
Cheat.
The Spin Drill allows you to drill into the ground and come out the other side, and the Rock Mushroom allows you to pummel through hordes of enemies or break certain objects. Cool power-ups, but they pale in comparison to the Cloud Flower. You can walk on clouds and create up to 3 of your own, so you can save yourself from impending doom or get some serious height. Now this is what I like to see in a power-up, something that makes me say I want that, rather than looks like I have to use that now. Now this is where I would talk about the game's graphics and sound, but what's there to say? There's really not much it does better than Galaxy 1. 2 uses a blue sky more so than pure space for the background accompanying levels. The music is still orchestral bliss. There's not much to say about it other than it continues with Galaxy
Yeah, so the
1 did, and
rotating out of the
sounds are
vehicles
both
doesn't work
phenomenal.
great
After
in
going
this
through
scale.
6 worlds, we're face to face with the final
Eh.
level, Bowser's Galaxy Generator. And
I would compare it to the original, but I don't have the
might be
original.
one
I
of
mean,
the
I
greatest
mean, have
final
the.
levels out there.
It's like I don't have the original Megazord. I have the second, with the last Megazord that showed up, but in the deluxe scale that I bought just this year, actually. But I don't have the deluxe analog to this Megazord. So they're not going to make the Victory Mars or Omega Megazord in this scale, which would be nice. Oh well. So yeah, do the thing. And I'll build that one tomorrow. My train is coming along. And this is the first one to not include alternate parts. Okay, so the big selling point, why I decided to do Blue Thrower now. It's because it can combine with pink Aether and yellow armor to become the Victory Walker.
Sailor Zombie Esther. Chuyu Chiyun.
And if you think Victory Walker is literally just the bottom half of the Megazord, you would be correct, but hey. Oh, and pull the... It do a walk. Oh boy, it do a walk. Hips come out of the way so I can do that. They made it so I can come forward. So they do their they put their work in here. So yeah, you can like shoot water out of there. That's like my default pose. Yep. So that's that. That is Victory Walker. Tomorrow I will build the last one of these, that being the green hover. You've seen here in terrible 540p. Whatever. So that's tomorrow, and then Sunday I may build Leopardon. I don't know. We'll see, because I just got that guy in. We'll see. Anyway, that's tonight's build. I'll finish this video, you know, on the stream, and then call it a night.
Sailor Zombie Esther.
Feels
See
like a
you
major
then.
test.
Ask me
a culmination
questions.
of Tons of things the game has thrown at you to this point. It all ends with a battle against Bowser, which is fundamentally very similar to other boss fights with Bowser in the game. But then after you think you landed that one last hit, for God's sakes, Mario games have to stop doing this whole, wow, you beat the final boss. Just kidding. Oh my god, this is absolutely amazing. It's over. God, this final section of the final boss fight was so cool, but it ends right before it's getting good. It just ends too quick. I wanted it to last longer. And thus, the game ends with a cameo from Rosalina, and we can play around behind the credits. That's fun. Well, since I haven't fully beaten this game until now, I think it's only fair that I 100% it.
No, I've never 100%ed this game. Finding the green stars is hard.
That was a
Sailor
blood clot of a
Zombie
good
Esther.
time. Definitely much harder than
Why
the first
always
Galaxy,
green?
but I totally feel fulfilled. I wanna
'Cause
keep getting all
Luigi.
the stars.
Sailor Zombie Esther. Why not lime? Sailor Zombie Esther. Lime.
No. Yeah, after getting 120 stars in the game, 120 more green stars appear across every single level. They're nothing more than just click on a green star mission, find the green star in the level. There's no hints as to where it is except for a vague sound clue, just a giant game of hide and seek. You get one final super hard level at the end of it all after nabbing all green stars, but guess what? No thank you. I think after a 120 star playthrough, this is kind of the last thing I want to do. Before you say, well, Galaxy 1 had you 100% the entire game a second time as Luigi to get that final level. That final level was just putting a bunch of purple coins in the opening section of the game. Who cares? I didn't really. Just like how I don't care to get all the green stars, at least right now, that is. Maybe in a year or so I'll go for it, but right now the green stars feel like filler, extending the length of a game that didn't need its length extended. So, Super Mario Galaxy 2.
They're
phenomenal. However,
I don't know, I disagree with that
prefer
point.
Galaxy.
Because, like, even though I've never gotten them all, I find them to be an interesting challenge to try. Like, they are in, like, even like using a guide to find where they are, they're challenging to acquire. They require, some very careful timing or neat, jumping tricks. So they take some effort. That's my take on it. Oh, right, let me show it.
Sailor Zombie Esther. Beth wants to know if the green and white Power Rangers are the same person.
In the original show, yes. Tommy lost the Green Ranger powers, and later they gave him the White Ranger powers.
Sailor Zombie Esther. And where does the Black Ranger fit it? No, I can't clarify that.
I don't know what that means. If you're asking about the time Tommy was a Black Ranger, that was a decade and a half later. They decided to do another dinosaur season, and
Sailor Zombie Esther. Neither do I.
So they decided, assuming you were talking about Dino Thunder, the time Tommy was the Black Ranger, looks like they did another dinosaur season. They're like, hey, let's get Jason David Frank back. So they got Jason David Frank back, and they said, hey, he's a scientist. He's been working on, dinosaurs all this time. Even though he was last seen being a race car driver, I think. Anyway, he became a teacher at the school and recruited new Power Rangers, and then he found a black gemstone because that was the source of their powers in that show. These ancient gemstones that were connected to dinosaurs. He found a black one, and he made himself the Black Ranger of that series. Except he's an expensive actor, and he had his own shit to do. So half the season they, wrote him out of the show. They made him be stuck in the suit, so they didn't have to have Jason David Frank around, and he could be off in California running his dojo or whatever he does. And they just they just had him voice over the character while he was stuck in the costume for half the show. So that was neat. That's the only thing I can think of if you mean Black Ranger. If you mean
Sailor Zombie Esther. No, she thought there was no Black Ranger and that the black actor played a White Ranger apparently.
Has there been a Black White Ranger? I feel like there has to have been at some point. Probably a woman. But no,
Sailor Zombie Esther. Having her explain this is like pulling teeth while boys are on acid.
I mean, if I could get inside her head, I could definitely probably try to explain what's going on, but having you, who doesn't really understand it, trying to relay her is probably not helping. No Black Ranger. The Black actor played a White Ranger. No, so in the original, I mean, maybe there's been several seasons where there's been a White Ranger but no Black Ranger. Let's see. Ninja Steel did that technically.
Sailor Zombie Esther. I laugh at you optimism.
Yeah, someone has to. Someone has to be hopeful around here.
Sailor Zombie Esther. Asterisk your.
Thank you for that asterisk text-to-speech. I mean, I don't know, assuming you're not talking about the original 93 to 95 run anymore, there have been, it's reboots every year basically. So it's just, if you see a show with a White Ranger and no Black Ranger, or vice versa, it's just because that's how they did it. It's not relevant to the original, to any other show, really.
Galaxy 1, and it's totally a nostalgia and an emotional attachment sort of deal. I totally get why many prefer Galaxy 2. In a lot of cases, it feels like Galaxy 2 looks at everything Galaxy 1 did and says, that's cute, and just ups the ante.
Face
More
in
levels,
face.
more ideas, more Galaxy. But to round up why I prefer Galaxy 1, allow me to introduce my brand new reoccurring segment. Why I prefer Galaxy 1 to 2, I am running out of ideas for new segments. Galaxy 1 did it all first, so it's just a bit more special.
Thank
to me.
you for your
the setup and
service.
story isn't as cool as
I
Galaxy
try.
1. I prefer the format of Galaxy 1. While 2's ideas can be cooler, 1's levels were just a bit more memorable to me. Galaxy 2 has way more filler and reuses way more ideas than 1. Now, am I wrong for preferring Galaxy 1 to 2?
No.
Yeah, probably. Well, after wasting so much time getting 120 stars in Mario Galaxy 2, I've spent no time bringing in the dough to pay some rent. But I caught these landlords hard. You see, the water here is free. All I have to do is bottle up some tap water, sell the water bottles at a water bottle stand for profit, and then I'm going to be living on paying my rent on Time Avenue. So
1542. I'm messing with people today. Let's do a size comparison before I go. That makes sense. Red and blue would be about the same size. I wonder if they're, like, despite making vastly different parts of the combined robot, they have a vaguely similar construction. Just because, you know, red is mostly arm, blue is mostly leg. So they have a, like, spend all your time making one thing and duplicate it. I thought that was neat. Just something I noticed while I was building them. I don't know. Oh, I have the new hands I could show. And I'll wait. I'll save that for the combined robot. What is this? Whatever.
Sailor Zombie Esther. 3628. Some consistency would be great.
What? Also, my robot that combines with these and comes in like a week, so it's not over yet. Not that it was over yet anyway.
Sailor Zombie Esther. Lag ruins all my jokes.
I don't know what you expect. I do not know what you expected. The fact that you can't, I'm actually relishing the fact that you can't see what I'm doing right now. Ha ha ha. Alright, I'm about to wrap this up. I'm gonna stick these guys back in the trains and get ready for tomorrow. And I have, what time's it, 11 o'clock? Should I go to bed on time or should I screen cap Precure? Hardest decision of my life. I've only been sitting on that finale for 3 goddamn months. I guess that'll be my goal to get it out on by September 17th, my 3-month anniversary of watching it. Alright. I'm crossing my streams, even though like everyone who watches this knows what I'm talking about. I have this like vague idea that like I want to keep my projects separate. So
Sailor Zombie Esther. Sleep.
Like I try not to I don't know. I try to keep my projects separate from each other. Just like not allude to what I do in other projects. So like I shouldn't mention that I do Precure daily, in case I'm ever discovered. Whatever. I'm signing out. I need to eat some dinner anyway. Now that I haven't had snacks all day, which is a terrible idea. Never keep snacks where you work, because you will eat them all if you have no willpower, which I don't. Bye.